Hey guys, this is Matt Singer and Mike Sampson from ScreenCrush.com. We are here today to talk about Star Wars The Force Awakens. This is not a review. If you want to read my review, you can find that at ScreenCrush.com. We were only here today to talk about spoilers, to discuss the movie, the things that for years we have not even been allowed to know, much less talk about. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, this is not a video for you. This is specifically spoiler related.
We're going to get deep into spoilers.
Yes, if you don't want to know how Luke kills Chewbacca and then eats him to survive.
Right, click on one of these videos over here.
Yeah, go over there and watch something else.
Right.
So this is about spoilers. So let's just dive right in.
Sure.
Let's get to it. Let's start with what everyone's going to be talking about, which is, I think, the end of the movie and particularly the death of Han Solo.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was sort of, foreshadowed throughout the movie. I think you could sort of see it coming. I don't think it's a huge surprise to people. I think it's a shocking moment that, Han Solo, one of the most iconic movie characters that has ever existed, to kind of see killed off in the first installment of a new trilogy. Yet at the same point, I think you kind of can see where that's going, Han is kind of getting old, and you see little hints kind of going throughout the film, but then his own son just kind of takes that crossblade lightsaber and just plunges it right through his chest, and
hasta la pasta, Han. I think you put that the right way. It's like a shocking moment, but it's not actually shocking.
It lacked a lot of emotional sort of impact for me, and you saw it at a press screening, which is maybe a little slightly different. I saw it on opening night with a big crowd of people who were all in costume and had lightsabers and the whole thing, and you would expect that moment to have a sort of like,
oh my God.
When I saw Avengers for the first time with an audience, when
you're going to spoil Avengers now?
Avengers spoiler alert. When Coulson died, I mean, the air was sucked out of the room. I mean, you could feel a sort of gasp.
Right.
Here, and Coulson is no
Han
Solo. Sorry, Clark Gregg.
I was hoping you would add that in there.
But even still, that moment was a shocking death, and that sort of surprised everybody. Here, I would have expected a little bit more of a sort of gasp, and there really was not a big reaction from the crowd. I don't know if that's because they had seen it coming and had sort of prepared themselves for it. They'd steeled themselves, or whether it just lacked any real emotional impact.
I think it lacks a little emotional impact. I think they also telegraph it in a few ways. If you're a Star Wars fan, you know that Harrison Ford wanted them to kill Han Solo for literally about 35 years. Right. He wanted to die in Empire Strikes Back. George Lucas didn't do it. He put him in the carbonite, kept him hanging around. He wanted to then die in Return of the Jedi at the end of the movie, so it meant something when they won.
Yeah.
George Lucas refused to do it then. So I personally, although I never read anything, I don't think Harrison Ford said this anywhere, my feeling was the only reason he would come back to make another Star Wars was if they promised this time they actually would kill him off. So to me, it wasn't that shocking when it happens, especially when you find out that the main bad guy is his son, which they revealed pretty early in the film, which is another thing that kind of surprised me, is that they immediately hint about his family, right?
Yes.
And then you think, oh, well, we're going to wait the whole movie to find out. Is he Luke's son?
It's going to be a lame twist at the end of the movie.
Right, but then it turns out we find out pretty quickly.
The first act. Yeah, I thought that was actually one of the really good things about the movies. They didn't hold that back as some reveal. It's like we all sort of know where that's going.
But we never really see those characters together, and it's not like we've seen them together in a previous movie. So when they meet and he kills him, I think that's where the emotional stuff you're talking about, it doesn't really come from, is that we haven't had, like if this had been the big climax of Episode 8, he, after a whole movie of him trying to convince him to come back to the light side, which was one of the cool things I thought about Kylo Ren, is that whole conflict, maybe then it would have had more impact.
If they really were going to do it in this movie, which they did, they could have added a little more emotional weight to their confrontation that they had. I mean,
you said this to me. I agree with you.
Yes, when Han goes up and approaches his son, he could have appealed to him on a father and son level.
Right.
Instead, he came to him.
Little hand on the shoulder.
Except the only hand he got was after he already had a lightsaber through his chest, and then he gives him a little pat on the cheek.
Yeah,
and
not quite the same thing.
Good job, son.
Yeah.
He could have gone up to him and kind of really appealed to him as a father and said, "Listen, I screwed up. Maybe I wasn't the best friend." Exactly. No, he goes, "They're going to turn on you. Snoke is only using you." It was all tactical instead of appealing to him on any emotional level. And I feel like if he had done that, and they had sort of a teary moment together, it maybe would have meant a little bit more when he died, instead of going up there and just going, come on, son.
And what are the odds? Come on, what are the odds that Kylo Ren, after we've already seen he's a pretty bad dude. Now, he's conflicted. We've seen that too. But, like, that he's going to be like, you're right. I'm just going to, all right, Han. You're right, Dad. Let's go home. And that's going to be the end of the movie. Probably not too likely. All right. Let's move on to the other big kind of spoilery thing in this one, which is Luke Skywalker. The presence or lack thereof of Luke Skywalker, who, you know, hasn't been in any of the trailers. We've been waiting to see him. What is he going to look like? And I will say, when you finally do see him,
he looks pretty badass.
Pretty cool. It is a kind of an awesome reveal. But, you know, but you literally have to wait until the second to the last shot of the entire movie to see him. I guess my first question to you would be, besides just how did that work for you, is like, were you surprised that you didn't see him until the very end of the movie?
No, I think that was not a surprise at all. I mean, I think, like, especially when the first sentence of the opening crawl is Luke Skywalker has vanished. You're not going to see him. I mean, he is kind of hidden. The whole movie is sort of trying to find him. So if you think halfway through that he's going to mysteriously show up at the end and have a lightsaber battle with Kylo Ren, I think you were sort of misguided. I think common sense would sort of guide you to the fact that you're not going to see a lot of Luke. The reason they weren't showing him in the trailers is because there isn't a lot to show. If they had showed him in the trailers, they would have given away the entire ending of the movie. So no, I was not expecting to see him earlier. I felt like the way they used him was sort of perfect. At the end, to just sort of, you know, it's a great way to end the movie and then also sort of give you an idea of what's going to go on from here. I mean, there's still a lot of questions when you see him. What is he doing out there? Where has he been doing this whole time? And what is his relationship with Rey, who is the person who goes to find him, and she offers up the lightsaber like she's trying to get a squirrel to come over. She's like, come on, I got your lightsaber, come on. So I thought it actually worked really well. I think people may have been frustrated in the marketing aspect of it not seeing him, but I think that was done for a reason. Sometimes the mystery box can sort of work, and I think this is one instance where that worked. I mean, it was as intended.
The fact that we don't see him until that very end, I mean, he almost seems like an afterthought after a while. It's like they get so sidetracked with the whole fake Death Star that they almost forget about Luke for a while, and then they only find him after R2-D2 magically wakes up at the perfect time. Like, the whole movie, they're looking for him, they can't find him, and then the solution is just, oh, R2-D2 knew where he was all along, and he just puts those little pieces together, and it's a little convenient. I was a little, I don't know, you mentioned the mystery box. J.J. Abrams loves his mystery box, kind of like lots of secrecy around all of his movies, and then you go to me it was like the mystery box, instead of opening it when you buy your ticket, like he never opened it until like the last shot of the movie, and then it was like a beep, and that was it. And then it's like, oh, if you want to actually see what's inside the box, you got to come back for the next movie. It felt a little bait and switch to me.
Well, I think what they're trying to do is end on that sort of cliffhanger-y note.
It's almost literally a cliffhanger. They're like standing on the edge of a cliff. Episode 7's over now. Force Awakens is out there. It's done. So let's already, even though the movie doesn't come out for what?
A year and a half.
A year and a half. Let's already predict as best we can, or at least see what we think is going to happen with Episode 8, which is apparently the script is written. Rian Johnson's script is supposedly done.
They've already shot some scenes with Rey and Luke on
that cliff,
Jedi Temple, because that's a very sacred spot, and they had trouble securing
that location. That's an actual Jedi temple. It was hard to
get. They had to go there and ask Mr. Jedi if they could shoot there. So they've already shot some things for it. So we know, obviously, that there's going to be the continuation of that scene, whether she stays there with Luke
to train to become a Jedi,
whether she convinces him and goes, R2 is right down here, like just down those steps. He can't come up steps.
R2, I love R2.
Right, and then they all get in the Millennium Falcon and they go back to wherever, Jakku.
Hey, where's Han? Where's Han? How's he doing?
By the way, about Han. But I think we're going to have to find out who is Rey. I mean, you can kind of assume based on some things that she is maybe a Skywalker. But if she's a Skywalker, who's her parent? Or who's her mother? If Luke is her father, who's the mother? It's obviously somebody we haven't met yet. Is her mother a Jedi as well? Is that how she's so powerful without seemingly any real training so far?
Right. And the other question is, if she is if she is someone, who was she? Because wasn't Luke the only Jedi?
Right. Why did
the end of Return of the Jedi?
Why did Luke and whoever the mother is send her off to Jakku?
Right. Why is every character in this saga a deadbeat mother or father? Why aren't there any good parents?
And then also on the flip side, you're going to see, we see Snoke say to Hux, get Kylo Ren, bring him to me.
Yeah.
And
so we're actually going to see that guy in the flesh and not just as a ridiculous,
giant hologram.
Not very convincing
right.
hologram.
And it may turn out that Snoke, when you see him, is like
that would be kind of fun.
A foot tall.
Right, that would be kind of fun.
And instead of looking up at him, they look down at him like this.
Right.
Like,
I mean, and that would make a certain, again, all these Star Wars loves their mirrors and echoes. It would kind of make sense because, Yoda was always so small and he was the most powerful Jedi. And to have, like, the evil Yoda be small would be kind of cool, too,
sort of Wizard of Oz-y, sort of tiny little man behind the curtain.
And the other thing they did really well, although they are familiar archetypes, was create new characters that are great. I think that's the big takeaway is that while I didn't love the movie, I enjoyed the movie, I had a good time with it, I loved the characters. Well, that's the big thing, right? They made characters that we really care about.
Right.
We don't just care what happens, we actually care what happens to these characters. And that's the thing. I can't wait to see what happens to Finn, Rey, and Kylo Ren.
Right.
That's the big thing now about Episode 8. It's like, I want to know what happens to these characters.
Well, you only have to wait another year and a half until May of 2017 to find out.
That's the annoying thing, is that
is.
now, Episode 7 is here, we got it. Now we got to wait for Episode 8. What are we going to do until then?
Just sit here.
Just sit here?
Just sit here and wait. What else can we do?
All right.
Are we there yet?
No. We've still got a year and a half. Should have brought some food.